Alright lads and lasses, I'm Xcentric Racer, and we are back at Forza 7 for more XFRS. That was a month ago. I do apologise. Anyway, the cars you see here are C-Class Pride cars. So cars that have trans, bi, pan, etc. in their names. For race 1, we headed to Suzuka West, I believe it is. Anyway, it's the layout with Spoon and 130R. We're following here a green-red rally fight. There was a little bit of commotion at the start. One of the cars spawned in a little bit late, so I had to... So avoiding action was having to be taken. There was going 3 wide up ahead through 130R, a Ford Raptor and a Transit on the outside there you saw got connected together through 130R as we're heading to the double right-hander. Now the rally fighter that we are following is in massive traffic at the minute. I'm pretty sure that's 3 wide further back of the field. Is now trying to go on the inside of a Camaro, but that Camaro has too much straight line speed for the rally fighter to really get an overtake through the corners as a Crown Vic tries to go up the inside underneath the right-hander before the bridge. They're going 4 wide, heading up to the hairpin, going to the back straight. Now the rally fighter does get the best run out of all of them. Actually manages to get a few positions. One of the Fulvias does get a little bit connected and gets spun out at the out of the hairpin there. The Camaro goes up the inside of a Ranger as the road doesn't load back there. You probably noticed it. This rally fighter also goes round the inside of the rally fighter. So no, that's what we're following. The Ford Ranger through Spoon. The rally fighter is trying to go around the outside of that Camaro, heading out the corner. However, can't quite do it. That Camaro has too much speed and is going up the inside of the Smoke in the Bandit Trans Am there, heading up to 130R. The Trans Am is going to be on the inside. You can see the brakes locking ever so slightly. The rally fighter is going to get a big understeer moment through 130R. Is going to lose a little bit of time. Is going to have a big dive up the inside through the double right-hander there. It's going to be on the inside, however, doesn't quite have the run of that Firebird there, and is not going to be able to get that overtake as the road still forgets to load in. The Ford Ranger in the background is losing a couple of positions there. That car was really struggling, was just dropping through the field. The rally fight you saw there tried to go up the inside, connects door to door with that Trans Am, and actually comes off worse. Is not going to be able to get that overtake, heading into the hairpin now. You can see the Firebird just locks the brake. That's going to open the doors for the rally fighter, and something else I've completely forgotten. They're going too wide, but that Trans Am has too much straight line speed. I think it might be a Monaro. I can't remember. Anyway, at the front, and this battle would remain for the entirety of race 1. This panel van trying to find a way past my Firebird. My Firebird had that more top end, was a little bit better down the straights. However, the panel van had a bit more handling than me. Through 130R, you can see just how good my top end was compared to the pink car here. However, as we head through the double right-handers, you can see the closing speed of that car. Fulvia was sort of in the background. However, even with us two fighting, we were still pulling a gap of the cars behind. We were massively quick compared to the field, and we would just absolutely run away and stay within, I believe, about a second of each other. This blue classic muscle car, I've completely forgotten the name. The rally fighter was having to defend from said car, as a Galant is also in this little fight here, heading up to the hairpin. That Galant had a lot of handling. You can see the big dive up the inside of the hairpin here, heading onto the back straight. Is going to get that position momentarily. However, this blue car is just going to outrun it down the straight, and is going to get the position back against the Mitsubishi Galant there. You can see it just gets the tail stepping out ever so slightly, heading up to Spoon, and the Galant, you can just see there. Don't know what happened to me there. You can just see the closing speed through the corners. It's going to be on the inside yet again. However, we are on the start-finish straight, heading up to 130R, and the Galant just doesn't have an answer for this blue car. Down the straight, you can see the gap that it's starting to pull, heading through 130R, and the Galant is just going to fight back. It's going to be around the outside of this blue car. It's going to get alongside, draw a little bit further ahead. The green and red rally fighter outbrakes themselves massively and just crashes into the tyre bundle. The Galant is going to get the position against this blue muscle car. I do apologise. It's been a little while. However, the rally fighter in the background may have lost the position to, I think that was a Crown Vic or something like that. Is going to be on the inside. Doesn't quite get the run out of that corner. As we follow now, the Transit with a trans livery is currently fighting a Lancia Fulvia. Not the usual fighting combo. However, it's a spectacle and a half. A very good handling Transit having a fight with a very good handling Fulvia. The Fulvia goes for a little bit of a cutback against this Transit. However, the Transit has just a little bit more top end. Many strange things are going to be said. Also, you're going to see this Transit a lot this race because, well, this was kind of the only fight, except for, of course, me at the lead with that Sandman. This Transit would just get involved in a lot of fight. You can see the Fulvia looking all over the shop, trying to find a way past this Ford Transit, but the Transit just has too much straight line speed. I know, it's weird. Against this little Fulvia, and you can see the gap, it's starting to pull. It's actually starting to catch up to that Mitsubishi Evo up ahead there. The Transit's going to run a little bit low across the curb. It's going to get a little bit of a wiggle as they're now into the braking zone. That Fulvia is going to start catching up, and Eclipse is hanging around in the background of this little fight, trying to find a way past. You can see the Fulvia is seriously catching up through the corners. It's starting to get to the back bumper of this Transit, but it can't find a way past, and it would just be stuck like this for a lot of the race. A Ranger, a Crown Vic, and an Evo. I think it's a 9. I could be completely wrong. A little bit up ahead, the Smoking and the Bandit Trans Am runs a little bit wide out of this hairpin. The Ford Ranger you saw there was going to be on the inside, but that Trans Am has too much straight line speed there. And the Transit and the Fulvia will start to catch up to that Evo as they're heading up towards Spoon now. The Fulvia is going to drop back a little bit. The Ford Ranger is having to deal with the Crown Vic. The Fulvia, you can see just how much speed it's got more than this Transit. It's all over the back of it. It was almost going to draw alongside out of Spoon, but that Transit has too much straight line speed for the little Fulvia, and you can see now the Evo is getting drawn into this fight as it's being caught by these two cars through 130R. The Transit goes a little bit wider than the Evo. However, it's still on the line. It's going to be on the inside, heading through this double right-hander. Is alongside, but that Evo gets a little bit of a better run out of that corner. The Fulvia is in the background. It gets a little bit of a sideways moment, heading out of the double right-hander. The Transit is almost alongside. It's on the back corner of that Evo. It's going to have to drop back a little bit against that car. And you can see now it's just a train of cars. That Fulvia still on the back of the Transit. Tried to look up the inside. He's just getting really annoyed now because that Transit is just going to outrun it ever so slightly. They get a little bit tagged, the Transit and the Evo. The Fulvia is going to get a double overtake up the inside of those two cars, and the Transit is going to outrun that Evo. Yes, heading up towards Spoon, and the train continues, but that Fulvia is past that Transit, but the Transit is going to try and move up the inside of the Fulvia at Spoon. However, the Fulvia's got too much handling. The Rainbow Crown Vic up ahead gets a bead slide, is going to be open for attack against something up there. I think that's a Tamo. Yes, it is. And the Forza is now getting dragged into that fight. And as we're heading down the straight, the Transit is also going to join in. This 4-car train. The Tamo, the Crown Vic, Forza, and then this Transit. The Transit, though, it's a huge slide out of 130. I'm not sure what actually caused that to happen. It's going for a huge dive up the inside. It was a little bit too far back, though, to get this move against that Forza. The Forza is all over the back now of a Crown Vic as that Tamo catches up to that Blue Ranger up ahead. Yeah, it was just a spectacle to watch, this little battle. And the good thing was that this Transit was just getting involved. The Forza managed to get up at the inside of the Crown Vic. The Crown Vic ran very wide out of that right-hander, heading underneath the bridge. And the Forza is going to be on the inside of the Tamo out the hairpin. It's going to get that position to stick. The Transit gets a move up the inside of the Rainbow. Crown Vic is also going to get that position to stick. And the Evil tried to follow suit, but doesn't have the straightening speed at the front, and the battle completely raged on. This was on the final racing lap. You can see just how close that panel van was to my Trans Am there, and it was just all over the back. I was having to defend heavily, and there wasn't another car. Third place was nowhere near us two. We absolutely flew round Suzuka, and yet you can see me having to be quite defensive around this hairpin, forcing that panel van to go around the outside of me. And I'm just going to compromise it where it's stronger than me. But you can see we get a little bit connected. I thought there was more room on the inside there. Do a little bit of a block unintentionally. However, the panel van is going to be on the outside. Round Spoon. I'm going to be defending the inside. You can see we're going side by side as we're heading round now to the final corner, heading down the back straight. The panel van is sort of on my door. However, I have too much top end for that car to deal with, and that means I am going to take race 1. I'm going to be the victor with that panel van in second place. It was a fantastic race. Really enjoyed it. So I would take victory with my Trans Am. Static Sheep would take second with that panel van, with Stinky taking third with the, I think it was they were in the Camaro. Anyway, second race, we headed to Miami, the road circuit alternate layout. I take a very wide line, trying to avoid people's crashes. I'm on the outside. The Ford Ranger takes a very wide line. That Forza again gets unfortunately spun out. I'm going around the outside of a few cars. You can see the Raptor is getting a clean breakaway. A Pacer gets a little bit connected with another of the old Trans Ams. At least I think it was that one. And unfortunately the Trans Am just gets dumped on the tyre wall. Not much can happen there with Forza glue taking full effect. I'm on the very inside of many cars there. We're going 3 wide out of that right-hander there. Heading now onto this sort of mini straight. And I'm on the outside of the 3 wide with the black Oldsmobile. However, my car's just got so much straight line. It's got so much top speed. Heading now into this big braking zone. Left hairpin there. Heading onto the back straight. I get a much better run than a bunch of cars. I'll go around the outside of the Camaro briefly. I outpace one of the black Crown Vic and then the rainbow Crown Vic as the Camaro goes up the inside of me, and that pink panel van there gets 2 positions on this bank corner. But however, my Trans Am was actually still pretty good cornering as well, as I go up the inside of that panel van and a orange or brown, I think it's brown, rally fighter. The panel van gets a couple of overtakes. One of the Oldsmobiles, at least I think that's what it is, a blue and white one, gets a huge sideways up and took the trip across the grass. And you can see it's just many cars as the Oldsmobile gets connected, gets Forza glued with the front of a Ranger Raptor, and it's going to be a big squabble back there. The pink panel van you can see it was still just on the back of my car. Us two were so similarly paced, and some of the fastest on the field as well. You can see the light blue Camaro up ahead getting on the grass very squirrely, heading into this hairpin, and I'm forced to go around the outside of the Camaro. I keep my car there. The panel van tries to go up the inside of my car, however doesn't have, like we found out at Suzuka, it doesn't have the top end of my Trans Am, and I do not have the top end of that Camaro's. The Camaro's going to make a breakaway, going up one inside of the blue muscle car that's going for a big slide on this bank corner. And you can see the panel van is just really close to the back of my car, but is going to eventually start losing out as I fly past that blue muscle car there. Oh, I'm having a massive brain fart as to what it is. Anyway, I'm now catching up to a pacer. I'm up the inside. I'll do a little bit of a Morse code. Well, it's not really Morse code. I do knock on the door ever so slightly of that pacer, and I do manage to get position against the pacer. There was a little bit of a dodgy move, I will admit. As we're following the Rainbow Crown Vic there, you can see the Ranger Raptor's got a little bit of a breakaway from this fight involving two Crown Vics and that very handling orientated Galant. The Galant is up the inside of this Rainbow Crown Vic and the Black Crown Vic, heading on to this soft back straight here. Excuse me. However, the Black Crown Vic has a much better top end, has much better straight line speed than that Galant. However, the Galant is going to go for a big move up the inside, outbrakes himself ever so slightly, and is going to leave the door open for the Black Crown Vic to make a cutback. And these three were starting to catch up to the Ranger Raptor up ahead as this Rainbow Crown Vic, I'm forgetting cars here, is up the inside of the Purple Galant, heading round this long banked left-hander, and is going to get that position to stick as the Galant just doesn't have the straight line speed. This Rainbow Crown Vic is also just going to tag along the back, get the toe from the Black Crown Vic up ahead as it goes for a big move up the inside of the Ranger Raptor, gets that position to stick, and the Galant is just so good on the brakes and through the corners that it gets the position on the Rainbow Crown Vic. The black one starting to make a little bit of a breakaway from this fight, with the Ranger Raptor leading this train as the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am starts to actually catch up to the squabble of two Crown Vics. The Galant gets a move up the inside of the Ranger Raptor. The Trans Am is also on the inside of this Rainbow Crown Vic, gets a little bit of a wiggle heading on the right hander there. The Rainbow Crown Vic, I think, lets off, goes on their brakes ever so slightly, because I think they may have had a little bit of a tag. I'm not too sure. Fulvia, the one that got spun out on lap 1 twice, in two different races, tried to do a bit of a move up the insides of this Crown Vic. However, if you're doing that move, sometimes you're not going to stop it on the apex, and you're going to leave the door open for a cutback, and that's exactly what the Rainbow Crown Vic just did. Just did a nice cutback, heading onto this back straight, and is going to outpace that Fulvia. The brown, I'm going to say it's brown, I don't know, I haven't a clue what colour it is. Rally Fighter tagged on the back of one of the fights that was going on, the transit leading this little train, including a black Oldsmobile, a Tamo, the blue muscle car, I haven't a clue, I think it's a Monarmo, I'm probably completely wrong, and this Rally Fighter. The Rally Fighter had a lot of straight line speed compared to a bunch of these cars. Was on the back of this fight. The Tamo was on the inside of the blue muscle car here. However, it's going to be very wide heading on to this sort of mini straight as the Rally Fight gets a huge slide. However, it's not going to matter. It still has the top end of a bunch of these cars. The Tamo is having to defend, be on the inside of this Rally Fight. Again, the Rally Fight is getting a huge slide. However, still has the run on that Tamo and is going to get that position in the stick as we now head onto the main straight of the oval section. Is going to get a pass on that Transit and is following the black Oldsmobile up ahead. The blue muscle car manages to get to the front of this little field, of this little train. However, the Rally Fighter's got a lot of top end, so it was starting to catch up ever so slightly, but I think starts to run out of steam. The Oldsmobile tried to go on the outside of turn 1 of that blue car, is not going to get that position. The stick leaves the door open for this brown Rally Fighter. However, that Oldsmobile is starting to fight back into turn 3. It's going to be in the inside, but is just going to be on the outside. Through turn 4 is going to try and do another cutback, but that Rally Fighter has too good of a run and manages to keep the position against that Oldsmobile heading into the big braking zone. And you can see the Rally Fighter just made enough of a distance, that the Oldsmobile couldn't get past. However, a little bit of a sim twitch, well, sim snap, would send the Rally Fighter off the road and into the wall, and is having now to defend from the very handling orientated pink Transit. The Transit having to go around the outside of this Rally Fighter. It's going to draw alongside, but it's not going to matter in the end. The Rally Fighter has too much top end for that Transit to deal with. At the front, and it was a Camaro, the green and red Rally Fighter, and my Trans Am. I'm up the inside of this Rally Fighter. The Camaro just carries a little bit too much speed into turn 1, is going to be very wide, manages to, I'm pretty sure, keep it out of the wall. However, is effectively taking themselves out of the lead fight, as I'm now trying to find a way past this red and green Rally Fighter. The Rally Fighter, I did have a bit more top end than this car, but the Rally Fighter, I think, had a bit more handling, and I believe was slightly better accelerating. Will definitely outhandle me. I'm trying to go up the inside of this right-hander out of turn 4, but it's not going to matter. The Rally Fighter just has too much handling. Again, side by side against this right kink heading on to the back straight, into the big braking zone for the left hairpin heading onto the oval. And the Rally Fighter is going to be on the inside, is just going to hold me on the outside. There's a car's width there for me to draw my car alongside, and like I said before, I do have the slight top end advantage. However, our two cars were kind of even for majority of the speeds. However, round this long bank corner, I do have a bit more stability. The Rally Fighters having to take a lower speed to try and keep that car under wraps, and I'm going to be able to get a position round the outside for the lead. However, the Rally Fighter has not given up just yet. You can see on the brakes, is managing to catch up to my car. In the background, you could see that pink panel van having to deal with a pacer for 4th place. Was actually really putting on a good show, our two cars there. A little bit further back, and the black Oldsmobile was having to deal with the Transit, as the Tamo also copies the blue Camaro there. Runs very wide out of turn 1, is going to miss the corner entirely for turn 2. As a different 69 Trans Am is having to deal with this Transit, is outpacing it, I believe, ever so slightly. Yeah, it's going to be alongside heading into turn 5. It's going to draw alongside, but the Transit still has really good grip, really good handling. Unfortunately, it's just going to lose that position because that Trans Am is on the inside and has too much top end, as the Transit is now having to defend from a Rally Fighter, but the Rally Fighter takes himself out, gets a huge dive up the inside. They get a little bit Forza glued, the Transit and the Trans Am. The Transit though lets the Trans Am up ahead, get the position. The handling gallant gets a position briefly on this Trans Am. However, on the oval section, doesn't have the top end of this Transit. The Rally Fighter that went very wide into the left, into the hairpin, manages to get the position back against that Galant, tried to find a way past the Transit, but the Transit was not giving up without a fight. Out the front, and I managed to get a little bit of a breakaway from that rally fighter, helped a little bit by the fact that Camaro actually did catch up to that rally fighter, and now the rally fighter was having to defend for second place. That gave me a clean breakaway for the lead. This again was also a fantastic race. I would take the victory. Edu would hold second with that rally fighter, and Stinty would take another third place. Our final race, and we headed to Sonoma, the short circuit, as we're following the purple Fulvia. The inside of the first couple of corners there, the Tamo got taken out a little bit, heading into a tyre bundle on the first couple of corners on lap 1. You can see just a sea of headlights heading up towards the chicane section here. A Rainbow Crown Vic ran very wide out of the chicanes there. The Trans Am and the Fulvia getting positions. The Trans Am managed to get a position against that Ranger Raptor. The Fulvia is also on the inside. The one that we're following was on the inside of that Ranger Raptor, going 3 wide through that little right-hander. The Raptor was very much struggling in this field. Was just losing a lot of positions. As you can see in the background, it's just many headlights, as this Fulvia is now trying to catch up to the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. Of course, the Trans Am having a lot of top end, not fantastic through the corners, as they're heading now 3 wide out of that final S, heading up to the hairpin. The blue 69 Trans Am was on the very inside of this 3 wide. The Eclipse you can see Eclipse in a couple of positions down, does clip the tyre bundles on the inside. The Firebird, the Trans Am, does get positions against this Fulvia, and this would actually cause another race-long battle between this purple Fulvia with a lot of handling and that Trans Am with that bit more top end. And in the background there's a few sideways antics by many cars further back, as obviously I started from the back. I had to work quite hard to try and get through the field, following now my car having to try and get past the very fast down the straights Camaro. As Oldsmobile up ahead, you can see the Trans Am, the Smoking Bandit Trans Am, and the green and red Rally Fighter gets very connected. The panel van gets screwed over. The Transit gets a massive slide, trying to avoid me. Manages to hold it, but of course is going to lose a lot of speed. As one of the blue classic muscle cars, I've completely forgotten what the name is now. Tried to go around the outside of me, round the final S. We're going 3 wide with the Transit making a massive dive up the inside, gets that position to stick. I was not expecting a Transit with that much braking. However, it doesn't matter, because I could just out-accelerate it out of that hairpin, heading towards the final corner. The red and green Rally Fighter also manages to find a position past that Transit. The pink panel van that got taken out with the big crash there on lap 2 was having to work their way back through the field, and my god, they were making their way through the field. You can see up ahead it's Samo getting a little bit sideways antics out of the chicane. As I'm leading a train up ahead, this panel van is now starting to catch up to that train. Is going to be on the inside of a Tamo. Ranger Raptor in the background gets a little bit into trouble, I think, going across the curbs, and just spits the car sideways. The Tamo goes for a little bit of a jump across the curbs, heading into the S's. Excuse me. However, the panel van has too much handling and too much acceleration for that Tamo, apologies, to really defend. Is now having to try and find a way past this handling Transit. Is going to be on the inside for the hairpin. Is going to be alongside is going to get the position against that Transit. The Tamo, I don't know, however you want to pronounce it, sees the door open and is going to try and put the car there, gets it alongside. However, you take that shallow line, you're going to be slow off of that corner, and the Tamo is not going to get that position. The panel van is still climbing their way, gaining time. It's now on the back of the blue muscle car. The Transit, I think, takes a really slow line, kind of under brakes themselves and kind of cuts the corner unintentionally. The Tamo is going to get the position, and then the Transit goes for a little bit of rallycross around the outside. The panel van is on the inside of this blue muscle car, and is going to draw it alongside, get the braking right, and it's going to get that position. The blue muscle car can't do a thing against that panel van, as it's now having to chase down the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am up ahead, going through the S's now, and you can see the Trans Am was struggling through the corners. The panel van was pushing it out of the corners. The Trans Am did have more top end than the panel van. However, Sonoma is quite a handling orientated track. They're going 3 wide heading into the final big braking zone. The Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am almost lost 3 positions. However, the Tamo turns in, gets too much turning, and is going to clip the inside tyre bundle. A little bit further back, the Eclipse collided with the tyre bundle. Was sort of steadily making their way through the field, kind of levelled out. At this point, was fighting with that Rainbow Crown Vic and the Ranger Raptor. Further back, I think this was for about 16th. I can't remember off the top of my head. However, the Eclipse is getting a much better run than both the cars further back, both of them taking very dodgy lines through the chicane. The Ranger Raptor losing quite a lot of time going on the grass. Usually it's quite good at it, but this is Motorsport. And the Eclipse manages to make a little bit of a breakaway, is now catching up to that brown rally fighter heading through the S's up ahead. You can see the Tamo is on the back of the Transit, and the Eclipse is sort of lurking at the back of the brown rally fighter through the S's. It's going to get a little bit of a slide, the rally fighter that is, gets a little bit of a slide out of the final S, but that Eclipse can't really do anything. The battle between the purple Fulvia and the blue 69 Trans Am did rage on. The Fulvia managed to get the position against this Trans Am, gets a very big sideways moment across the grass out of that first chicane, and you can see the Trans Am is all over the back of it. Is going to be forced around the outside of the Fulvia, and the Fulvia's just got too much handling for the Trans Am to deal with heading into the S's. The Fulvia could just be on the apex and is going to could just take the line they want, and the Trans Am just can't do a thing. It hasn't got enough grip to really force the Fulvia to take more sort of dodgy lines. However, around the final S, does get a much better run, is chased to the inside of the hairpin, is going to get alongside. The both of them run a little bit wide, they get a little bit connected. The Trans Am, of course, being on the shallower line, and you can see it's just alongside the Fulvia, is going to be around the outside through the first couple of left-handers here. However, that Fulvia's got too much handling against this Trans Am and is going to keep that position against it. In the background, you can see Camaro is having to deal with a different Fulvia, a blue and white Fulvia with a lot of grip as well. And yeah, these two were just really close together, heading into this fast right-hander with a nasty curve, and the Fulvia understeers a little bit. However, it's still far enough ahead. It's going to take a defensive line. It's just going to park it in the middle where the Trans Am can't really make a move. against that Fulvia, as we're now in the S's with a rogue tyre. And yeah, that Fulvia's just managing to keep the position a little bit further back. And yeah, an old rivalry was starting to commence yet again. My Trans Am and that pink panel van. This track suiting that panel van just a little bit more than my car. Of course, the panel van having a bit of better brakes and better through the corners. My car having that better acceleration and top end. As we're both trying to chase down a black Oldsmobile, I think that is, if I remember my old cars correctly, which I don't. Anyway, yeah, you can see me, I'm just plastered all over the back of that black car. The panel van was also along the back of this. As we're going 3 wide into this right-hander, the panel van was in definitely the right place at the right time. Manages to get on the inside of both of us. However, gets a much dodgier run out of that corner. I get a better run. However, I could not take the speeds that the panel van can through the corners, and that is ultimately me going to be losing that position to the panel van. But both of us get that Oldsmobile at the front. This black Crown Vic, I think, started near the front of the field, and of course it has good handling, good braking, and managed to keep it clean, make it through a couple of the cars, and then run away at the front. Was not involved in battles, and yeah, made a clean breakaway at the front and would take the win. So Invisible AK would win with that black Crown Vic. Nick would take second with that purple Fulvia, defending that position against Gliska with the blue 69 Trans Am. I hope you enjoyed. I do apologise that this was a month late. Yeah, a lot of things were going on in the background. I won't bore you with details. However, I hope you enjoyed. I massively enjoyed that evening. It was a lot of fun. I really did like the Trans Am, and I would recommend it as a C-Class car. However, that is going to be it for me. If you do want to take part in these events, the first link in the description will be the Discord where this event takes place. Follow that link, and there'll be a little reaction part. React with the Forza Motorsport role, and you will have access to this event. The second line of description will be my Discord, in case you want to say hello to me for whatever reason. I haven't a clue. However, like I said before, that is it from me. Until next time, ciao for now.